Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So today we'll be discussing the anatomy of liver. So this is what I have drawn to you is the anterior view of liver. In this we can see the diaphragmatic surface of the liver. In this liver, from the anterior side we can see two notches. One is this and the second is this. This is called interlobar notch and this is called the cystic notch. Cystic notch is for gallbladder, whereas the interlobar notch is for the ligamentum teres. Okay. Ligamentum teres is the remnant of the left umbilical vein and is present in the free border of the falciform ligament. Okay, so this is, we say, the diaphragmatic surface of the liver. This diaphragmatic surface of liver is divided into right lobe and a left lobe by the falciform ligament. Okay, so this what I have drawn to you is the falciform ligament. This blue one in the middle is called the falciform ligament. This in the free border of the falciform ligament we have the ligamentum teres, and this lies in the interlobar notch. Here you see this is the left lobe. This falciform ligament is dividing the diaphragmatic surface of the liver into a right lobe and a left lobe. Okay, so this falciform ligament is dividing diaphragmatic surface of liver into a right lobe, the larger one, and the left lobe, the smaller one. So the right lobe is making the most of the stomach. We can say it's making 5 out of 6th part of the stomach, and the left lobe is making 1 of the 6th part of stomach. Okay, now this falciform ligament ending in the interlobar notch and having ligamentum teres in its free border. Above it, at the left side, it have the left layer. It's called the left layer of the falciform ligament. On the right side, there's the right layer of the falciform ligament. Okay, so the left layer of falciform ligament forms the anterior and posterior layer of the left triangular ligament, and the right layer forms the superior and inferior layer of the coronary ligament. We will see it in detail when we will study the ligaments of liver. But now we are discussing the general anatomy of liver. Okay, so that's the right lobe making the 5/6 of the liver, and that's the left lobe making 1/6 of the liver. This is the diaphragmatic surface. On the diaphragmatic surface we can see two lobes of liver which are divided by the falciform ligament. In the free border of the falciform ligament we have the ligamentum teres. Then this border you are seeing is the inferior border of the liver. This border is the inferior border of liver. The only prominent border of liver is inferior border. Okay, what happened in the cystic notch? In the cystic notch, here I told you this one was the cystic notch. So in the cystic notch we have the gallbladder. Okay, so in the cystic notch we have the gallbladder. Okay, so let me highlight the ligaments of liver now. So here, this is called the superior layer of the coronary ligament. That's the left triangular ligament, and that's the anterior layer of the left triangular ligament. That's the falciform ligament, and in the free border of the falciform ligament we have the ligamentum teres. This ligamentum teres is the remnant of left umbilical vein. Remnant of left umbilical vein, and it is also called round ligament. Also called round ligament. Okay, so that's all about the anterior view or the diaphragmatic surface of the liver. One more thing, the diaphragmatic surface, I told you we can see the diaphragmatic surface from the anterior view of liver. So this diaphragmatic surface is composed of further 3 surfaces of liver. These 3 surfaces are first of all the anterior surface, then the superior surface, and the right lateral surface. Okay, so the diaphragmatic surface is composed of 3 surfaces: the anterior surface, the superior surface, and the right lateral surface. Okay, so now we have discussed the anterior view. Now we will discuss the posterior view of liver. So now here we have the posterior view of liver. From in the posterior view, we can see this is the gallbladder, this is the ligamentum teres which was present in the free border of the falciform ligament. Okay, so the falciform ligament continue backward, and here in the left side it is forming the left triangular ligament and anterior and posterior layer of the left triangular ligament, whereas on the right side it is forming the superior layer of coronary ligament and the inferior layer of coronary ligament, and the superior and inferior layer of coronary ligaments unites to form the right triangular ligament. On the right side here forms the right triangular ligament, on the left side here we have the left triangular ligament. Okay, so what's this? This is the fissure for ligamentum venosum. It's a fissure. Here will be present the ligamentum venosum, which is the remnant of ductus venosus. Okay, so this what I have made is the porta hepatis. We will look into this. What's this? And here we have the ligamentum teres. So let me just highlight all these ligaments for you. Okay, so this is the left triangular ligament, that's the anterior layer of left triangular ligament, and that's the posterior layer of left triangular ligament. That's the falciform ligament. I told you that falciform ligament on the left side divides into form the anterior and posterior layer of the left triangular ligament, whereas on the right layer of falciform ligament forms the superior layer of coronary ligament and inferior layer of coronary ligament. These both layers of coronary ligaments meet at the right triangular ligament. Then we have the fissure for the ligamentum venosum. The ligamentum venosum is the remnant of ductus venosus. It's the remnant of ductus venosus. Okay, then we have the ligamentum teres. I already told you in the anterior view of liver that's ligamentum teres is the remnant of left umbilical vein. Okay, so this posterior view, as in the anterior view we were seeing the diaphragmatic surface of liver, similarly in the posterior view we are seeing the visceral surface of the liver. We are seeing at the visceral surface of the liver. As the diaphragmatic surface was composed of three more surfaces, the anterior, superior and right lateral surface, the visceral surface is composed of the posterior surface of liver and the inferior surface of liver. Visceral surface is composed of two more surfaces. These are the posterior surface of liver and the inferior surface of liver are collectively called the visceral surface of liver. So that's all about the posterior view of liver. And one more thing, here we also have the inferior vena cava, in which the hepatic veins draining the liver, hepatic veins from the liver drain directly into the inferior vena cava. This we have the inferior vena cava. So that's all about the posterior view of liver. Okay, so now as we have studied the anterior view and the posterior view of liver, let us talk about the liver now. So the liver is the largest gland of the body. The largest gland of the body is liver. Liver is the largest gland. Gland is what? Gland secrete hormones. So there are two types of gland, exocrine and endocrine, and liver also possess both these properties. Okay, liver is exocrine as well as endocrine gland. Okay, after the largest gland, it is the second biggest organ. Liver is the second biggest organ in our body. The first biggest organ is skin. The second biggest organ is liver. Okay, where does the liver lies? Liver lies under diaphragm. Below diaphragm there lies the liver. Okay, then the whole liver is covered by a capsule called the Gleason's capsule. Okay, now we talk about the location of liver in particular. we know that we have the 4 quadrants. Abdomen is divided into 4 quadrants. So in which of the 4 quadrant lies the liver? Liver lies in the right upper quadrant. Okay, and abdomen is also divided apart from quadrants into 9 regions. These regions being the right hypochondrium, epigastrium, left hypochondrium, right lumbar, umbilical region, left lumbar, right iliac, hypogastric, left iliac. So abdomen be dividing into these 9 regions. So where is the location of liver? Liver extend from the right hypochondrium into the epigastrium and in the left hypochondrium till the left lateral line. Okay, and in certain cases, in certain diseases, when there occurs the hepatomegaly, the enlargement of liver enlarges downward in the right lumbar region. Liver enlarges downward in the right lumbar region. Okay, if liver enlarges, it will enlarge downward in the right lumbar region, whereas the normal position of liver is in the right hypochondrium, epigastrium, and in the left hypochondrium till the left lateral line. Talking about the quadrants, liver lies in the right upper quadrant. Liver is the largest gland of our body. It is the second biggest organ after skin. It lies under diaphragm and is covered by Gleason's capsule. Now we talk about the surfaces of liver. As we saw in the anterior view of liver, that was the diaphragmatic surface. From the anterior view of liver, we can see its diaphragmatic surface, and in the posterior view of liver, we can see its visceral surface. So there are 2 basic surfaces. Let us write it here. One is diaphragmatic surface. Diaphragmatic surface of liver, and the second one is the visceral surface of the liver. Visceral surface of liver. The diaphragmatic surface is composed of 3 surfaces of liver. These are the anterior surface, superior surface, and right lateral surface. These 3 surfaces together makes up the diaphragmatic surface of liver. Whereas the visceral surface is made by 2 surfaces. These are the posterior surface of liver and the inferior surface of liver. Okay, so we have done talking about the surfaces of liver. Now let us talk about the borders of liver. Here in the anterior view, I told you that liver has 5 surfaces in total. These 5 surfaces are anterior, superior, right lateral, posterior, and inferior. And we can also say in general, liver has 2 surfaces, the diaphragmatic and the visceral surface. But liver has only one prominent border, that is the inferior border of liver, separating the anterior surface from the inferior surface. The inferior border is the only prominent border of liver. Inferior border of liver, which is the only prominent border. Other borders are also present but are not properly demarcated. Okay, so inferior border is the only prominent border of liver. Now we talk about the notches. So I told you in the anterior view of liver that we have 2 notches of the liver. One is called the interlobar notch, second is called the cystic notch. The interlobar notch lodges the ligamentum teres and the cystic notch is called the gallbladder. Okay, so we have 2 notches of liver. One is interlobar notch. For what? It is for ligamentum teres, and ligamentum teres is the remnant of left umbilical vein, also called round ligament. Okay, so we done talking about one notch. The second notch is the cystic notch. The second notch of liver is cystic notch. It is for the gallbladder. It is for gallbladder, fundus of gallbladder. Now talking about the lobes of the liver. When discussing the lobes of the liver, look at it from the anterior view. In anterior view, we can see only 2 lobes of the liver, that are the right lobe and the left lobe, which are divided by the falciform ligament. Whereas in the posterior view, we can see the right lobe of liver, the left lobe of liver divided by the falciform ligament. In the posterior view, we can see two additional lobes of liver. These are the caudate lobe and the quadrate lobe. So this is the right lobe of liver. This is the left lobe of liver. This is the caudate lobe of liver. This is the quadrate lobe of the liver. Okay. Now, this quadrate lobe, the caudate lobe, the porta hepatis all lies in the right lobe of the liver. These are parts, these are included in the right lobe, whereas left lobe is much smaller. As I told you that right lobe is making 5/6 of the liver, so it is covering the caudate lobe, quadrate lobe, porta hepatis and the 5 surfaces of liver, whereas the contribution of the left lobe in liver is much less. So when we talk about the left lobe, talking about the lobes of liver, first we talk about the left lobe. So it is very much smaller. Okay, left lobe is very much smaller and making only 1/6 of the liver. It is flattened. It is flattened, and only point to remember about is it has tuber omental around it elevation, also called omental tuberosity. Okay, what does it have? Tuber omental. Okay, it's making 1/6 of the liver. It is a smaller and flattened. That's all about the left lobe. Now we talk about the right lobe of liver. When talking about the right lobe of liver, I told you the right lobe of liver includes the caudate lobe, the quadrate lobe, and here we will discuss the porta hepatis. Okay, so the first discussing the right lobe of liver is much larger because making 5/6 of liver, include the caudate and quadrate lobe. It include the caudate and quadrate lobe. Also include porta hepatis. Porta hepatis. Okay, and it also covers the 5 surfaces of liver. Covers the 5 surfaces of liver. Talking about the boundaries now. The boundaries of the right lobe. Talking about the boundaries of right lobe, here in the anterior view we can see the right lobe. Okay, so first let us study in this diagram. Anterior to right lobe we have the falciform ligament. Superiorly also we have the falciform ligament, the layer of falciform ligament forming the superior layer, the right layer. But we can say anteriorly and superiorly the boundaries of right lobe are formed by the falciform ligament. Inferiorly it is formed by ligamentum teres, and posteriorly it is formed by fissure for ligamentum venosum. You can see that anteriorly and superiorly it was falciform ligament. Now inferiorly this was the right lobe, so inferiorly it is bounded by ligamentum teres, whereas posteriorly in the posterior surface it is bounded by fissure for ligamentum venosum. This was the fissure for ligamentum venosum bounding the right lobe of liver posteriorly, and inferiorly right lobe of liver is bounded by ligamentum teres. So let us write these boundaries. So here I have written the boundaries of the right lobe, that anteriorly and superiorly it is bounded by falciform ligament. You see, anteriorly and superiorly falciform ligament is bounding the right lobe, whereas posteriorly it was fissure for ligamentum venosum, and inferiorly it was ligamentum teres. So that's all about the right lobe. Now we look at the caudate lobe. Caudate lobe is also included in the right lobe. One more thing about caudate lobe, we are not seeing caudate lobe in the anterior view. Do you see caudate lobe in the anterior view? No. In the anterior view we see only two lobes of liver, right lobe and the left lobe. Caudate lobe can be seen in the posterior view of liver on the posterior surface. Okay, on the posterior surface. Quadrate lobe is present on the posterior surface. Quadrate lobe is present on the inferior surface of liver in the posterior view. Okay, so now let us discuss the boundaries of caudate lobe. The caudate lobe is bounded on the right side by inferior vena cava. On its right side we have the inferior vena cava, that's the inferior vena cava. Okay, on the right side we have the inferior vena cava. On the left side we have the fissure for the ligamentum venosum. Here I have marked it for you. It's the fissure for the ligamentum venosum. On the right side we have inferior vena cava, left side fissure for ligamentum venosum. Superiorly we have the superior surface of liver, and inferiorly we have porta hepatis. What is this porta hepatis? We will study about it. Okay, so on the right side inferior vena cava, on the left side fissure for ligamentum venosum, superiorly superior surface of liver, and inferiorly it is bounded by porta hepatis. So here, talking about caudate lobe, it is present on the posterior surface and its boundaries are: on the right side we have the inferior vena cava, on the right side inferior vena cava, on the left side fissure for ligamentum venosum, superiorly we have superior surface of liver, inferiorly we have porta hepatis. Now the caudate lobe has two processes. One is called the caudate process, other is called the papillary process. Caudate process is also called lateral process. Papillary process is also called medial process. Here you see, this is the papillary process or the medial process of caudate lobe. It extends towards the left side. It extends towards the left side, towards the stomach. This is the caudate process of the caudate lobe. It connects the caudate lobe with the right lobe. It connect the caudate process, connect the caudate lobe with the right lobe. Okay, so now it's done. Now we talk about the quadrate lobe of liver. This quadrate lobe is rectangular in shape. Talking about the quadrate lobe, on the right side we have the fundus of gallbladder. On the left side we have the fissure for the ligamentum teres. Posterior to it is the porta hepatis and anterior to it is the inferior border of liver. When you keep in mind the diagram, the boundaries of all the lobes will be very clear to you. Okay, so the quadrate lobe of liver is bounded on the right side by fundus of gallbladder, on the left side by fissure for ligamentum teres, posteriorly by porta hepatis, and anteriorly by the inferior border of liver.